Welcome to the post-game week 7 video. So this week kicked off with Spurs and Man City, and not a lot of us would have expected this scoreline. Spurs to score 4 goals against Man City and Man City to only score one. In terms of the actual game, Man City took the lead with Kevin De Bruyne, and yeah, okay, maybe he's just a toe offside, but the benefits meant to be given to the striker, and you can probably forgive the linesman there. And it's a good finish, As low as can go, he hit it, good and low, and Man City 1-0 up. I think until the equaliser, Man City would say just edged it out, but there's no doubt that equaliser was a turning point in the game. Walker is significantly offside. It was so clear that, I was just expecting the linesman to flag. When he didn't, Caballero puts out a great save to deny Son. And there's no doubt the fact that Walker managed to get in behind the defence and the flag was not raised, it did kind of unsettle the defence in terms of positioning. And Dyer shot as a result. It is a poor pass from Kevin De Bruyne to Fernandinho. But either way, a great shot. And, you got to sympathise with Man City there because, really that goal shouldn't have really occurred. But either way, 1-1. And I think the problem here is because Man City might have been very aggravated and, in a way, very disappointed from the decision. They maybe went to that second half thinking they can just win the game. Maybe they'll be a bit more patient, I'm not sure. But either way, it doesn't matter what they thought because second half, for me, I think Spurs dominate that second half. And the other way I'd go, it's just poor goalkeeping. And I know Hart, they were saying if it was an absolute necessity for him to play, then he would have played. But I'm pretty sure that Spurs away, in the past, Man City have done very well on that ground. Last season they won 1-0. There was even a year, I think, Dzeko scored, 4 goals. Um, but it was a necessity, He had to play, really, because these are big games. And I know they've got a Champions League game, but you can't drop points like this. And now they're not first anymore. So, Caballero, I'm not a fan of very short keepers. He's not too short, but I just think his presence is just not there. It's not the same as Joe Hart. And that's pure. Adebayo's goal is purely down for me. It's down to goalkeeping error because defenders can always win headers from set pieces, but it wasn't a great header. It's just that the keeper was at position. And then the third goal, yeah, it's offside, but then again, that's a bit more marginal than the Walker one, and it's probably in between the Kevin De Bruyne one and the Walker one. But to be honest, it's a big turning point again because when at 2-1, Man City could easily come back, maybe draw, who knows. But when it's 3-1, it's just a big mountain to climb, really. And Everton free kick, good free kick. Kane's finish is just lucky because he just. If the keeper was in the goal, then maybe it would have been a great finish. But he kind of scruffed it, in my opinion. But he still got the goal, and a big goal for him. Maybe this will kickstart his season in terms of the goal tallies. But yeah, 3-1, and then to kill the game off, great skill by NG on the flank, good ball to Lamela, and Lamela, who was practically on the verge of leaving Spurs. I remember Mario Pochettino speaking, I think 2 days before the transfer window, that there's a potential that Lamela might leave, and that didn't materialize. And he's starting to maybe step up his game. Maybe he needs some time to adapt. I don't think he is the full made article in terms of people were dubbing him as Cristiano Ronaldo. No, he's not at that height, but he can be an effective player, and he deservedly got the free bonus in this game. Kane, 2 bonus, I think was uh, a bit too much for him. I don't think he had that much of a great game. I think he did well, but I think there are other players that were more deserving of 2 bonus in this game. But either way, a disappointing result for Man City, and they've had a few defeats already, So with the Champions League game and now 2 league games, it makes this next week coming up massive for them. Uh, so yeah, in terms of the Arsenal Leicester game, this was a great match to watch. There's no doubt. I watched this game on Sky Sports around about 8 o'clock, where they showed the match choice game of the day thing, and it was a really good match to watch. Leicester could have easily been 2-0 ahead. Who knows? Vardy had a header and could have made it 2-0. But because it was such a great game, I think this by Leicester kind of making this how do you say it? Because they weren't kind of holding back in defence and they were going for it offensively, I think they kind of played it in Arsenal's hand because we know how ruthless Arsenal can be in the counter attack. And if you look at their away record, you can probably see that. But either way, great performance from Arsenal in terms of the offensive players, Walcott, Sanchez especially, and I mean whether I'm fortune lucky or whether it's just good analysis, I bought Sanchez the night before in my team and had him captain, so 40 points off one player is pretty good. But either way, in terms of the actual scoreline, I think Leicester, yeah, this is the first defeat of the season, but I don't think they'll be too disappointed. Some good performances there. Mahrez, a lot of the time, actually, Mahrez had really bad first touches, like really off first touches. I think that's something that he needs to improve on to really step up. But obviously, there's no doubt he's got great talent. Vardy's both goals took them quite brilliantly, in my opinion, but Arsenal were too strong, and there's not really much to say. I mean, I still think that Arsenal have a very good squad and are definitely tight contenders. But Leicester, if they play this kind of brand of football, I think they will beat a lot of teams at home. I think against the top teams, like, maybe against Arsenal, City, and even Chelsea, they might struggle. Maybe not Chelsea. Chelsea are struggling defensively, but they could have problems against higher quality oppositions such as Arsenal in this league. The Liverpool Villa game, for me, it just marked the return of Daniel Sturridge, and he is a great fantasy player to consider. I think he's valued at 10.4. He was somebody I was looking at when I had Kane at 9.3 and I had £1 million spare. I didn't have enough to get him in, but been doing great. He's been slowly been reintroduced back into the first team, and he did very well. 2 goals. The second goal he scored was absolutely great because it's a great interchange with him and Coutinho, and that's an elegant finish. He almost passed it back to the net. Gestede, somebody I've been mentioning him, and Marvi. Marvi's got, I think, one of the best crosses in the league. The second goal from Gestede is a really good header. And there's not much to say. I think Villa will be disappointed. The fact that they made it 2-1 to concede the goals almost straight away and then Liverpool made it 3-1. I think that was the killer blow for them and made things very difficult for them. But Villa, they've had a good record at Anfield, and obviously it's a different team with now Benteke left and everything. But I think they'll be disappointed because there could have been a prospect of them getting points, at least a draw in this game. But Liverpool, a very important victory, and the biggest positive I can say is Sturridge is back for them. In terms of the main night Sunderland game, I actually watched this game at 3 o'clock with a friend, and there's not really, there's not really much to say. For me, Mata, the standout player to get from Manchester United in fantasy, is scored, assisted, and even got the free bonus. So I think he got 14 points, which is really good quality this week. There are some standout players this week in terms of what kind of points they've got. Depay obviously scored, could have scored a second goal when Martial made him 1-on-1 with the keeper, but I think his finish was a bit tame if you ask me. But overall, when clean sheets were hard to come this week, Man United got a clean sheet, and it kind of is a gentle reminder that if you're looking for a defender, maybe Man United is the way to go because they've got a great keeper. But I still think defensively, the individuals of them, with Shaw's injury, I think they will have problems. I think the fixture, let's not forget, home to Sunderland. Sunderland have been by far the poorest team in this league, although they had chances against Manchester United. So with Arsenal away, I think Man United have got Arsenal, Everton and City in the next 3 games. So I think we'll truly find out if United are really title contenders this season, which in my opinion they're not. Southampton and Swansea. Southampton played this game great. 3-0 up. I think Swansea need to kind of bounce back because they've lost quite a few games. Carling Cup exit, and from the great start of the season they had, things have kind of dropped down. And there's not really much to say in terms of Van Dijk, as a player I mentioned before, has that offensive potential and he's valued at 5.5. So if you're going to get him, you have to pay a bit of money. And Tadic had a good game as well. Scored an important goal to make it 2-0. After that, it was pretty clear that Southampton were going to win the game. And with Pella on my team, obviously I was happy with the 2 assists. Although the Tadic goal maybe shouldn't be given. It was more like a key on goal. So there's a chance that they might change this later on in the future. Might go to Pella 1 assist and Tadic might get the assist instead and a key on goal. But right now that hasn't been implemented. And Swansea, I mean, Sigurdsson now back in the first team, so Gomez has started taking penalty duties. That's one important thing to mention. And Siggy took the penalty and scored. So there's not much more to add in terms of this result. Stoke and Bournemouth, a very important game for Bournemouth to, Stoke to win. Hadn't won all season. I actually had Shaqiri and Bojan in my team in this game, and both, I guess, uh, didn't get me the points that I really wanted. But they won the game when probably they were the most vulnerable at, because Bournemouth had equalised with Gosling and they were really pressing on the door and looking for that winner. And then Juve, with that header scored. It was a good cross by Johnson, and big win for Stoke. Bad news for Bournemouth with Wilson. He's out for, I think, easily 6 months. It's the same type of injury that Tyrone Mings has had, and Matt Gradel. So it's a big blow for Bournemouth. They're losing key players, and I just think that they're going to kind of have to hope that they do well into that January transfer window. And maybe some players are on the verge of returning, and I think they need to invest because it's getting very thin. I think they have got problems and they need to get it sorted out very soon. The only thing I would say is that they do have a Glenn Murray, and if you guys remember from last year, for Crystal Palace, he did quite well near the end of the season and got some very key goals. So I think he could become a big player for Bournemouth this season. And then somebody's looking to replace Wilson, potentially with a similar player at Bournemouth as a striker, then I think Murray might be worth a shot. West Ham Norwich, for some reason West Ham defensively just don't turn up at home. And again, they got caught napping 2-1. Brady is a poor. I don't know if it's a poor pass by Noble. It's hard to tell. It's a combination of things. I think maybe the anticipation should be better from the players around him, Tompkins and Korte, etc. But either way, misplaced pass, Brady's in 1-0. They did equalise with Saka, but Redmond scored. I thought it was a bit of a cheap goal, really. But West Ham came back, and I think they do have a good points tally. But I think they need to really sort out their home form, because they won't be versing big teams every week. And it kind of shows the difference between dictating games and kind of playing in the back foot. I think West Ham are they're not on that level yet to dictate games. That's why they're struggling at home. Whereas against the big oppositions, they seem to be better, because maybe with a counter attack or less pressure, there seems to be something there, and it makes sense, because I think maybe later on in the season we'll see West Ham get better defensively, and they won't put themselves in a very tricky situation at home games against, you could say, lower quality opposition. Because when you're losing 2-1 against Norwich at home, it is difficult, because Norwich are going to settle. And don't forget, Norwich's main aim this season is to survive relegation, no doubt, when you promote a team. So it makes it even more difficult for West Ham to break them down. But credit to them, got the equaliser. Carroll got the assist. He's coming back, and it'll be interesting to see. I think Saka's been doing very well for West Ham, actually. So it'll be interesting to see if he does actually put Carroll back in the first team. In terms of the Newcastle-Chelsea game, as much as I want to say that Chelsea's fitness is better than Newcastle, I think that's wrong to say. I think, to be honest, Chelsea could have won this game as well. And Newcastle were doing great. 2-0 ahead, really should kill the game off. But a great strike by Ramirez got them back. And, Williams' goal is very cheap. Krul, I think I've seen him do that before. And I think this type of goal has been scored before by Chelsea with the Oscar free kick against Swansea. So I'm starting to question whether this is something that's purposely being done by Chelsea, but probably not, because William, the free kick, I think Ramirez was quite close to just headering that as well, and Pedro had a good number of chances as well. So there's not really much to say. Newcastle really should have won the game, but I guess they will take the draw, because it's better than what they've been doing recently. But Chelsea just makes the situation even worse, and I think it's going to be very difficult for them to win the league this year. I think defensively, I can now see why they need Stones, because defensively, consider very cheap goals. Ayoze Perez goal, for him to get in between the two central defenders and score a goal like that, it's just not good enough. So that's all I would say. Ayoze Perez obviously picked up the free bonus. He assisted and he scored. And Wijnaldum obviously is another player that people should look at. But depends on the type of risk you want to take with the players in your team. In terms of the only Sunday game, Crystal Palace and Watford, there's not really much to say. Palace had a great chance in the first half with the Hangeland header, but that got saved, and they had chances, I guess. But to be honest, when Zaha came on, he looked very lively, got the penalty, and Kabaye, good finish, even though the keeper went on the right side, and an important victory for Palace because they lost two games in succession, and with Watford, I think they just have to move on. The league is like this. If you make mistakes, you get caught out, you make a bad tackle. It's just how the league is. So um, that's the, how do you say it, the first home defeat for them this season. And it's kind of a reminder that they're actually in the Premier League and not in the Championship, because you make one mistake, you could end up leaving the game with 0 points. And lastly, the West Brom Everton game. This was as good as a comeback as Leicester's and Villa. Maybe this was not as dramatic. Maybe, I don't know. But either way, maybe people anticipated Everton to come back. But with West Brom 2-0 ahead, and Tony Pulis, as renowned for his defensive abilities as a coach, really should kill the game off. But Delafield, similar goals, good crosses. Lukaku getting at the end of it, and a great ball by Lukaku to Kone. And Lukaku's one of them hit and miss plays in fantasy. Some weeks he does it, and some weeks he doesn't. I think he got some very good points at away Southampton, and now he's got good points at away West Brom. But there are some weeks where he doesn't do so well. And Delafeu, Kone came on. Delafeu played the whole 90 minutes, and this was a very good performance by him. So, I do think that Barclays obviously another player to consider in midfield, but so is Delafeu. So that's my analysis of the game fixtures from Game Week 7. I will be releasing the pre-Game Week 8 video on Friday, hopefully, after I've seen the press conferences. And there is Champions League games, so I'll be very tentative about doing the transfers very early on. You might want to wait, just see, you never know, injuries, etc. And let's go from there, really. And a last note is a reminder to join the Fantasy Football Fan League. The league code provided in a separate video before. So yeah, thanks for watching my video, guys.